how are you doing? It's nice to see you.
Yeah, man, doing good, man. Glad to be here. I love talking sports, man. So I do, I generally talk about music
I
uh,
I know you
on
do. So
my
I thought it'd be kind
show.
of kind of fun, and I know that we'll do a separate interview show where I interview you and we talk a lot more deep. But I have been watching your show. I'm excited. I'm excited that this space is growing on the Twitch platform. Talk shows. I tried doing this a couple of years ago, and there is just talking, just chatting. There's also the podcast space on it. I know that some people sort of blur the lines of that. I've always considered this a podcast. I mean, the podcast is in its name, right? So
Right.
just chatting only existed for a long time, and the podcast space, bless you, is
Okay.
coming back, and there isn't enough sports podcasts, and there's not a lot of traction for it. So I appreciate that both of you gentlemen really love sports and want to talk about it. So we'll do a whole separate show on that. Today we're going to talk a little bit of Olympics. I'm going to have you guys. I'm also going to bring in half of my normal team as well. But before I do, I want to bring in Davy from Davy Eating a Sandwich. Davy, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm excited to be here. This is so much fun. I love sports too. I was sitting in on some of this to start, and you guys know your sports. I mean, Jesse, my goodness, you really know your football. That was a good spot too. Big Hurt, really cool to hear from him. Carol, you guys have some great pointed thoughts. So you really covered a lot of bases. No pun intended.
Yeah, for some reason I'm getting you in my right channel, but not my left. I don't know if it's a setting.
I'm not sure
Anyway,
what that's about. And you're coming in fine, Jesse.
Yeah, I can hear you.
yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me on both channels or just like the left?
Yeah, I can hear you on both channels. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. That's weird because I can hear you on both channels, Jesse. Anyway, that's odd. But anyway, super strange. But anyway, it's fine. Anyway, so first of all, you guys are both fans. You come from the West Coast. I'll let you guys explain just a little bit about yourself and your channel real quick, and then we'll get into some Olympic talk. Jesse, I'll start with you. You said that you're a 49ers fan, but you live in the LA area. Is that right? Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually originally from Washington State.
Okay.
So born and raised, a little town of like 7,000 maybe. Toppenish, Washington, tiny little town. Everyone knows everybody. High school was like 600 people, super tiny, super tiny. But yeah, I was a Niner fan since I was little. Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, they were my guys, and I grew up watching them, and I never stopped. Especially once the Seahawks started getting all them bandwagon fans, man, I was like, nah, can't do it, can't do it, man. But yeah, moved over here for college. I mean, actually in Long Beach, so went to college, never went back. So I'm over here. But yeah, man, Niners, Mariner fan first, Dodger fan second, and then University of Washington college sports, and and Miami Heat basketball,
There you go.
all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place. I'm a bit of the same way. I always have a favorite team, and then I always have a second favorite team in every sport because I like to make it interesting. A lot of people
Yeah.
give me a lot of shit for that, but it is what it is. So I actually, at one point, I really did root for the 49ers. I am a Lakers fan as my second team.
Okay.
So in that sport now, the Ravens kind of when I got older, right? The Ravens came to town and they became, my second team in football. But I've never rooted like really against the 49ers. They're probably the team I like the most in that division. Now, Davey, where are you from and what are your teams? We'll start there.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I'm from Oxnard, California, which isn't too far from where I live now in the LA area. And I grew up loving the Lakers. I mean, I've loved the Lakers since I was 5 years old. So my dad got me into it, and used to watch the games. Back in the day, you had Magic and Worthy and Kareem and Byron Scott. It was Michael Cooper. It was such a good team, and they won 5 titles in the '80s. Kind of segue from that to like to an extent the Dark Ages, and then you got into Shaq and Kobe, and then you got Kobe's run, of course, in the 2000s, and now we have LeBron, and it's just like it's a fun time. So I'm a Laker fan. I like the other teams are the Dodgers. Clearly, I mean they're doing great right now for baseball.
They pillaged our best players, so it's a
I
little
know.
bit
I was
a
really
little
kind
Always
of
get
sad
the
you
best
guys are
players.
doing your national segment. Like, oh my goodness, we just
Yeah.
fleeced the Nationals like
For
like
all
a few
the
days
players.
ago. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah. And then the other teams. Well, we didn't have a team when I was growing up, so I'm a Steeler fan. I just decided to pick them because they were a good defensive team. It kind of the personality kind of matched what I was. So, and then hockey is the LA Kings and will always be. So those are my teams. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm going to bring in my team as well. I'll bring in Tim, who is a Ravens fan. I thought that'd be a fun segue, right? Because I actually knew that you were a Steelers fan.
Right
after the Steelers fan.
We had a lot of battles.
Right, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
So,
good rivalry.
Right, exactly. So Tim is our resident Ravens fan, and likes all things Baltimore from this area, and he's also part of our Wizards Roundtable. And Tim and I went to high school together, so we've been friends for a very long time. So, and then I'm going to bring in my other friend Arun, who I've also known since high school, and he's our stats guy. We saw him a little bit earlier in the programming as well. So we'll bring him in as well. And Arun, I think we can have 5 up. So perfect. You're good. I'm going to share my screen as I do for this segment. We're going to break down some of different Olympic talks. I'll get you guys to give your thoughts on these games. The big thing that we talk about on this show is basketball, right? So we're going to go break down the Olympic basketball games. And then at the end, I'll let you guys talk about any other segments in the Olympics that you guys enjoyed or watched. Or I know that there's so many different games. No one could watch them all, but every one of you may have watched a different one, so we could hear a little bit about some of your favorite moments, maybe the Olympics. And I'll start off with the big news. Let me quickly share screens. Hold on. I have to participants. This is the problem when you're running 3 computers at once. Make co-host. So for people who don't know, I actually are streaming simultaneously on 3 different platforms, which is kind of crazy. But all right, so we're going to share this screen, and where are we? Safari. Here we go. So this is, let me fix this over here. All right, perfect. So the United States was behind in the Olympics last time we left them. And behind in golds, but not total. So last week we had a debate on whether what's more important, gold or total medal count. I'm going to quickly ask your guys' thoughts on this, or my new Twitch friends that are on the show, because I got my friends' thoughts last week on that. So I'll start with you, Davey. What do you think is more important, having more total medals or more gold medals?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, knowing the culture of America, right, I think the gold medals are the thing. And look at that, right on the final day, just edged out China. That's pretty awesome. I mean, look, I would have had a lot of respect for China if they had held on to that total, but it just goes to show you how the superpowers they are in athletics. I mean, China's dominated a lot of sports. I mean, diving in particular, you had a perfect score from a 14-year-old, which is just impressive to watch. And same thing with the USA and swimming. I mean, it's just the journey continues for Katie Ledecky and Caleb Dressel on the swimming side of the pool. So all in all, I mean, it's cool that it's this close. It's very interesting to see. But yeah, gold I think is the winner for me.
Right, Leon. Jesse, what are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely gold, man. You got it. It's the number 1 spot. You know what I mean? If we had 50 golds to 20 and someone beat us in total medals, I'd be like, so what? We got more golds than you guys. You know what I mean? Like, that's just my thought process too, just like Davey said, man. But yeah, it is cool though. It was close though. I do respect China for sure. They were right on us. Like I said, leading quite a most of the Olympics, but yeah, man. Gold's all the way. Absolutely.
I found this article really interesting. I'm going to quickly go through it with us because I thought it was a good, quick summary of that last day. So, there was 600 plus athletes, right, in 19 days. And they got it in, right? They didn't have fans. It was a pretty crazy Olympics. I felt really bad. We'll talk about that gold medal basketball game and how disappointing it was that fans couldn't be there for such a great game. Basically, they entered the last day trailing 2 golds, right? There's 38-36. The women's basketball team beat Japan, and then the cyclists won, so it tied it, and then women's volleyball won, and yeah, they took it. So like they were behind with the last day, and so that's a great comeback story right there. Mm-hmm. So 113, but it was way less than we got the last time in total medals. We had 121 last time. But it's difficult. It's all individual athletes, and so sometimes it's difficult to be one Olympic to another. It's not really a team sport in the same way that we think of it.
Believe it or not, though, the rest of the rest of the world is, they're bound to catch up a little bit. We've been dominant for so long, like just smoking everybody in the past that, they're bound to like catch up a bit, and what's actually surprising is that it's the US's first volleyball gold. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that was pretty surprising to me as well. All right,
Wait, is that on the men's side or the women's side, or just regular volleyball? Because beach volleyball, they'd won a few.
Yeah, I think it's women's regular volleyball, right?
Regular volleyball.
Women's,
regular
women's
volleyball.
indoor. The indoor team.
Indoor,
they won beach a lot of times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So, and then Japan was in third in ranked in gold, but not by total, right? Yeah. So, by the way that we were calculating, it's been exciting. Let's go back and talk briefly about some of the earlier basketball games, and then we'll obviously dig a little deeper into the gold medal game. But just where we left off, literally they were going to play Spain later that night when last Monday's podcast left off. So Spain started off hot, 21-19 in the first. The second, USA outscored Spain 24-22, beat them by 6 in the third, and then by 8 in the fourth. So they kind of opened up that lead over time. So I'm going to get Arun's thoughts in here real quickly. Arun, what was some of your take on this match?
A pretty back and forth game. Spain was actually leading by 15 to start the first half, but the U.S. closed that deficit and they tied the game at the end of the first half. And the U.S. kind of just took control from there on out. Even though Ricky Rubio was on fire, I think he had the most points against the U.S. out of any opponent ever. So that was pretty crazy. And overall, it was just a good game by Kevin Durant. Zach LaVine played well, and I think the U.S. just took control. They were deeper than Spain, and Spain was actually the number 2 ranked team, and they played the U.S. in the quarters because the U.S. had lost one of their games, and Spain had also lost, but it was a really good game and good for the U.S. to get a win.
Tim, what were some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's kind of sucks for Ricky Rubio. I believe he's been knocked out by the U.S. in 4 straight Olympics. So he started out as a teenage phenom, and he's obviously a really good point guard in the NBA now, but he's definitely kind of past his prime. Great game, here though. And I think Spain, totally their roster is past their prime. They're still one of the better teams in the world, but they were never really a threat to win this. That 15-point deficit was scary though, but the U.S. made a habit of going behind in the first half and then coming back with authority and then just kind of rolling people in the second half. And this was more of the same. But, Spain has always played the U.S. tough. You do have to respect them. They're a decent opponent, but the talent gap was huge. I mean, Spain had a lot of guys that used to play in the NBA, but they moved on to Europe, and I think they probably peaked, 1 or 2 cycles ago in the Olympics.
Yeah. Davey, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
Well, I mean, you definitely had a lot of talent on the Spain side. I mean, you can see that Rubio really did have a night. Look at that. 27 points. That's 38 points in a 40-minute game is insane. So if they lost, it wasn't for lack of his production. I mean, it's an impressive win for sure, I thought. And I do agree with the point as far as starting slow, because that carried over all the way in the gold medal game. I mean, they would be falling behind, the other team each time, and then they would do their rally. And but as far as this game was concerned, I mean, it really was a big day for Kevin Durant, who, just a lot like what he was doing with Brooklyn. He just took the bull by the horns in this Olympic tournament. I mean, 29 points is a really good effort. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and Jesse, what were some of your thoughts?
First off, man, I want to give a shout out to the Gasol brothers, man. I think they said this is going to be their last Olympics, man. What a run for them. been doing it for a long time. Marc Gasol is still going to play this year, I know for sure, with the Lakers. But yeah,
the
man.
only brothers
Shout out to them.
the only brothers to ever be traded for each other, right? And then Marc Gasol ends up back with the Lakers anyway. What a crazy story they have. Yeah.
That's very crazy. But yeah, man. Definitely shout out to them. But yeah, man, Rubio, it might even be his last Olympics. He's getting up there in age. He joined the NBA when he was he wasn't like right out of high school or college or anything like that. He was like 25 or 26. So he's got some years on him. But yeah, man, I'm a little disappointed in the US this year. From being down. If LeBron was on the team, that wouldn't happen.
Interesting point.
Yeah. It's a good point. It's but there's something about it being closer and like not having it a foregone conclusion that I kind of enjoyed a little bit. Now that's not going to carry over into the next game where I feel like it was much more of a foregone conclusion, much earlier. Again, we started off slowly, but just that third quarter we'll talk about in a second. They outscored them 32-10, and again, these are shorter quarters than they are in the NBA, so it's a pretty sizable difference, and it is really the difference in this game. Australia started off pretty well. Outscored them by 6 in the first. The U.S. outscored them by 3 in the second. But again, it's that 22-point difference in the third that made the difference, because in the fourth quarter, they both scored 23. And the USA were able to win 97-78. I'm going to start with Arun. Arun, what's some of your takes on this game?
Yeah, in this game, the U.S. was actually down by double digits again, but they also closed the gap at the end of the second quarter. And Durant was great again. Lillard only had 5 points. He looked like he was kind of out of it. And it turned out after the Olympics, he had an abdominal injury. And then the key was, I think, Drew Holiday playing really good defense on Patty Mills, who the U.S. had earlier lost to this team in the preliminaries along with France. So good for the U.S. to get revenge in the second half. Levine had a really nice dunk to close out the game. And they even got some garbage time for JaVale McGee, who had 2 buckets in 2 minutes. So that's pretty good scoring rate. So good win by the U.S. The defensive lineup of Booker, Holiday, Durant really turned the game around.
Yeah, Tim, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
The U.S. is really, really tough when they start hitting their threes. They really didn't shoot the three-pointer that well overall in the tournament, but in this game they shot the 3 well, and they just can roll teams when they hit those because it's a shorter 3-point line. They have a lot of jump shooters. They kind of relied on that shot because they were weaker inside in this tournament. So when they got hot, I mean, nobody was going to beat them. And this game, I think, it showed that they learned a lot from that exhibition loss. People really freaked out that they lost those 2 games, and even the game that they won against Spain and Argentina, it wasn't a blowout. I think those were really beneficial though, because they kind of got to see Australia's lineup, see how they played, realized how good they were, and they knew what they were going up against in the semis here, and they took them really seriously. And yes, they did get behind, but they have a great coach. They're not going to get scared. They have scorers all over the lineup. And they did a great job to come back. And I know Draymond didn't score a lot of points, didn't shoot a lot or play a ton of minutes, but his defense down low is key. And also, I wonder from Australia, if Ben Simmons played, maybe they would have gotten to the finals. This game could have been closer. I kind of wish that he played. I know he had a bad playoff run, but he's a great player and would have made their team a lot more formidable.
Yeah. Davey, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
Well, I don't have a lot to say about this game, but I did love the point about Simmons, because this could have been a real moment of redemption for him. So we really did miss out on him not being on that team. This was a pretty decisive game. If you don't mind me getting into the other semifinal game, France and Slovenia, that looked like a really good game. And Nick Batum saving the game with a block from behind, basically a game-winning block, which is kind of like what Giannis did in the NBA Finals. That was an amazing block. I was like, dang. Klemen Prelic was on his way to the basket to take the lead for Slovenia. I do have to give Slovenia a lot of credit here. And this is a team that has, of course, Luka Doncic, who's just unbelievable. Like, he's just one of the most exciting players to watch. And I see a note here that Slovenia's loss with Doncic is the first loss in 18 tries. They had gone 17-0 in their previous games. That's incredible. So what a run for Slovenia in this tournament. But as far as the United States game, I pretty much mirror what everyone else says.
But Slovenia ended up losing to Australia, right, in the bronze game, if I remember.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
blowout.
they got trashed,
Yeah.
which is kind of surprising, honestly.
Yeah, I was surprised by that because I thought they were gonna get bronze and it was gonna be a big moment for for Luka. So I was
It looked
shocked
like he got injured in the semifinal game because he only shot 5 of 23. It looked like he got injured.
Interesting. All right, Jesse, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, man. For one, being a Heat fan, I'm really disappointed in Bam Adebayo. But well, no, other than that, yeah, man, it was dominance. You know, like I said, they started slow pretty much all Olympics. But yeah, man, like that 22-point differential is just, they're physically better than everybody. And once they got it going, like there's literally no stopping them.
Yeah, I think the difference is the defense, right? I mean, and that's true in the NBA too. When a team commits to defense for a certain amount of time, it can really make a difference in the game. And here, holding them to 10 points, I mean, yeah, they scored 32, but it's really the holding them to 10 points in that third for me that makes such a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, even though what I said about Bam Adebayo, he played some really good defense. Jrue Holiday is a monster on defense. You've seen how big that guy is, man. Like he doesn't seem like he's that big, but when you see him on the court, I think he's about 6'4" at least, but he's thick, you know what I mean? So he can beat up people. And then and Durant, man, that guy's like he's got long arms, long legs. Like as long as he stays in front of you, it's kind of hard to get around him. But yeah, defense. I know Tatum, he's a good 3-and-D guy. So yeah, they definitely got the length, the size, to match up with literally anybody. But
especially with a Popovich-led team, right? He always preaches defense, and so if they commit to listening to him, and he's always gotten superstars to play great defense. I mean, that's one of the things that he'll be known for as being a Hall of Fame, coach. And so it was cool to watch this because it wasn't the foregone conclusion. I feel like it has been in so many previous years, and. All right, let's get into the game that we've all really were here to see, and it was a really, really great game. USA started off strong, although it was a really tight first quarter, 22-18, very tight second quarter, 22-21, so just barely outscoring them by 3 in the first half. USA was able to extend that lead a little bit, outscoring them by 3 in the third. But then France played really tight defense, only held USA to 16 points, only scored 19, but they only lost by 5 points. It was a very, very close game. Anyone who says that it was a foregone conclusion at any point in this game would be lying to you. I was nervous. It had everything that a gold medal game was supposed to have. I was a little disappointed that fans couldn't be in the stadium for this game. This is like one of those games where it's like the fans would have just gone nuts for, right? It just would have been a really great game. I would have loved to see the French fans there even. I just think it would have been this huge thing. And it was kind of a bummer for me. But France's size has really stood out to me. I mean, they are a huge team, big team, and really can dominate. And remember, they gave
USA 3 7-footers, right?
I believe so. And and the tallest person in these games, I believe. And so and defensive player of the year 2-time, right? So I mean, they're a solid team of players, and they beat USA earlier in these. They're the only team to beat them in this Olympics, and so I thought that could have a mental edge going into that could be dangerous, especially because their recipe was to keep it close and go on a big run at the end, and it looked like they were kind of doing the same thing again. I think the U.S. had a little bit of a bigger cushion than the first time that they played them, but not much, right? So, but overall, I mean, Durant has just been superhuman in these gold medal games, and just really pushing his team. I think it was 30-30-29 in his last 3 gold medal games, which is just incredible to watch. So I'll go in reverse order this time. Start off with Jesse. What are your thoughts on this gold medal game?
Yeah, France, man, big ups to them. They made it very interesting. there was a point where the U.S. hadn't scored in like good 5-6 minutes or something like that. They were D'ing him up. Like I said, they got all that size. Gobert, he's hard to get around. But yeah, the U.S. shot the 3 ball pretty horribly in the beginning. Finally, they got some shots to fall, and I didn't know about Lillard being hurt because I was wondering the same thing. I was like, dude, he's wide open on some of these threes and he's not making them. And Dame time, man, he can hit those like 30-footers. And yeah, I had no idea that he was hurt, but yeah, both teams, man, played great defense, and I'm a big defensive, like I love defensive games. I know some people might think it's boring, but like I love it. Like when a football game is 12-9, oh my god, I eat that stuff up. Man.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, I eat that stuff up, man. I love it.
Well, Carol, our co-host loves defensive football too, so he's with you 100% on that.
Yeah. But yeah, Tatum, he showed up big time, man. He did some great things, and obviously, man, what can you not say about Durant? That guy is a monster, man. When he raises up and hits that little mid range, it's like his arm is halfway to the basket. So like, yeah, he's deadly, man. Easy money sniper, man. He's awesome.
It's crazy to have so many 7-footers and still not be able to contain somebody like Durant. But I mean, he's so used to it, right? They in the NBA, they throw every player at Durant, and very few people can consistently defend him. It's why people think he's one of the greatest players of this generation, which is probably true. And Davey, what were some of your thoughts on this gold medal match?
Well, what a game it was, wasn't it? I mean, you had some great talent all around. I mean, I'm with Jesse. I got to give a lot of credit to that France basketball team. This is a pretty solid team. You talk about defense. These guys are some great defenders. The Batum, that's one of them. You had Rudy Gobert. I know he had 16 points, and it's interesting these rebounding totals. He had 8 rebounds. Yeah, that's a very good game in a 40-minute game. That's pretty good. I mean, and so there was just great defense being played all around. One more guy I'm going to mention on the France side, Gershon Yabusele really did well for himself, and I hadn't heard from him in a while. But props to him. I mean, his shooting wasn't the greatest, but 13 points and 4 rebounds. I mean, that's a pretty solid day. So now to the U.S. side. The first quarter, 3-point shooting was off. It was clear. People were wide open too, like the entire first quarter. And you felt like that was not going to be sustainable because these guys were just too good. They were wide open for all these shots. Second quarter and on, they picked that up. And, of course, Kevin Durant led the way. But I do have to give a lot of credit to Lillard now that we understand that he's hurt. That certainly that brings a lot of things to light. He did seem off. But he did make some big baskets late. And did you guys catch the basket where it came off the front of the rim and then it bounced in? That was the weirdest shot I'd seen all year, like in any level of basketball. That was just a crazy shot. Yeah, I mean, just all in all, I mean, it was a great effort by a lot of people. Tatum came up huge, as you mentioned. But the two guys that I really want to point out, Jrue Holiday and Draymond Green. Now, look, Draymond doesn't necessarily do it in the box score, but I think their presence was huge on defense. I just think they were really big in this most crucial game. Yeah, it was a closer game than people expected, but just a tremendous game. I mean, France is a tough team, and U.S. outlasting them, even with that little rally. Did you see that? Like in the last 30 seconds, that was crazy. So, that was a tough game, and I think the better team won. Honestly, I mean, certainly, people are saying they should have won by more points. I think you're not giving France enough credit. It was just a great game.
This is the statistic right here that changes the game, right? I mean, the idea, it's like a hack-a-shack, right? Where you take your chance and you don't let him dunk on you and see what he does in the free throw line. And 6 for 13, but Gobert is not.
That was very smart by Popovich to do that.
Right. I mean, it's a 5-point game and he misses more than 5 free throws, right? So I mean, it's literally the game right there. And I think that they couldn't figure that out, right? They couldn't, somehow either have him make them or make it so they can't foul him. One other interesting thing, because we're talking about just a few points difference in this game and it could have been a loss, and one of the things is after a free throw attempt, you can knock it off of the rim. Like in the NBA, you can't do that, and it's interesting to see players, if it touches the rim, to swat it away. And there was an actual successful one, I believe, in this game. And so
Draymond in the fourth quarter, it was like crunch time, like 3 minutes left.
Exactly. That's what I
Yeah.
remember too. And I mean, at that point, 1 point could make a huge difference because it's a 2 point game or a 3 point game, or so in this crunch time, it made all the difference. So I just thought that his playing defense, speaking to Draymond, and speaking to just smart decision making in a very very close game, made the difference in this one. Tim, what are some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think to echo the comments about Popovich, he did a great job. I mean, we have to remember the U.S. lost their first game. The world was ending. They had to deal with 4 days of just nonstop negative media. Kendrick Perkins running his mouth, Stephen A. Smith running his mouth, Skip Bayless, all those people. And they were stuck in Japan. They were in quarantine more or less. And I think they came together and they practiced really hard. And Popovich put in a great game plan, and he figured out his rotations. And obviously, they improved a ton. So he deserves a lot of credit. Yes, he lost a game, and that doesn't really happen to Team USA. But all that matters is he won the last game. So give it up for Pop. But yeah, I mean, this France team deserves a ton of credit. This is one of the best teams I would say Team USA ever played against, at least in the modern era. They've got guys like Nando De Cola. He plays in Turkey. I'd never heard of him really. Colo, sorry. Before this tournament, he played great. He was like guarding best players in the world, scoring double figures every game. France is a big team. You have to remember, Team USA, obviously, we have all the physical talent. We should win every tournament, but Olympic basketball is weird. 10-minute quarters. There's no 3 seconds, which people don't really talk about. But on offense and defense, to not have 3-second violations is huge because all the NBA players are trained to avoid that, and it really helps big teams like France because they can just park in the lane on offense and defense, and the U.S. can't. So you've got that. Usually you've got all the fans against Team USA, not this time, but it really is kind of stacked against them, and it's not easy to win. I'm glad that Durant was able to kind of quiet the haters a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I was a little bit scared at the end of that game. Team USA should have won probably by 8 or 10 points. Arun chatted that Lillard screwed up. He kind of did. Those 2 missed free throws were bad. And then they let France hit a couple shots at the end, but they like to make it interesting. So we said it's kind of better that way. But it'll be interesting to see who makes the team in 4 years. I think a lot of these guys will, but they'll have a lot of options. So it could be a lot different. Actually, 3 years. In 3 years.
Yeah, for sure.
That's gonna be interesting. That's
Yeah,
gonna be very
yeah.
interesting to see who shows up,
Yeah.
man. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Arun, what are some of your takeaways in this game?
Yeah, a really close game down the stretch. France actually jumped out to a lead, but the U.S. took care of business in the first quarter. In the first half, they had a lead, and yeah, Durant pretty much carried them through 3 quarters, but he was held scoreless in the fourth quarter. Batum, as Davy mentioned, had been playing great defense in the previous game, and he locked up Durant. So perhaps if France had put Batum on Durant earlier, maybe it would have been a different game. But the U.S. won at the end of the day. Drew Holiday, as everyone's mentioned, he played really good defense. And I guess the Team USA was also missing Beal. I think he would have played more, especially if Lillard was struggling with whatever he was going through, especially since Beal plays better defense than Lillard. And a couple nicks in this game. Shout out to Brian. Evan Fournier was shut down a little bit in this one. He only had 16 points. Frank Ntilikina, he had a couple buckets, including a key 3 after, I believe, those missed Lillard free throws. But overall, it wasn't enough really for France to get back into the game. They had some weird lineups playing both their 7-footers, while the U.S. wasn't really playing any 7-footers. They'd gone to a small lineup with Durant at center down the stretch. So overall, good for Pop to get the win. Shout out for Jay Wright, who actually drew up the final defensive play as an assistant. So It was the closest final in the last, I believe, since I'm watching probably since that Soviet Union final in the 70s, I believe. So shout out to Team USA for pulling it out, and it'll be interesting to see if they can actually win the gold medal without Kevin Durant. But they probably need him to show up in 2024 in Paris.
Yeah. It'll be what, like 37, 38 by the next Olympics?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Coming off
probably
a torn
like
Achilles
36.
too, no less, right? So that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
It's only 3 years, so that'll be good for him.
I'm taking away the share screen so people can see us and we can just chat a little bit of general Olympics. And I'll just go around the table and see what sports maybe interest you guys or how your general feelings overall on the Olympics, and then I'll let you guys all give some final shout outs for your shows, and we'll send you on your ways. But let's start off with Jesse. Jesse, did you watch any of the other Olympic sports? What things caught your eye?
Yeah, I watched a little bit, not too much. It's really busy season right now, or because I'm a talent agent. None of you guys know. I book venues. I book artists at music venues. So
cool.
I've been on the computer trying to get any artists like booked and stuff. So I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted to. However, the diving is the synchronized diving is insane. I can't believe that they can synchronize that well. It just blew my mind. It just blew my mind. Also, I want to say one thing, and then I'll pass it off. F all the haters that are hating on Simone Biles. Yeah. I'll say that for sure, because she's getting way too much hate. You know what I mean? She deserves so much better. She is one of the best Olympians of all time. She deserves, you guys deserve nothing. Not you guys, but the world deserves nothing from her. She gives it her all the time. The fact that people were talking smack about her pulling out of the finals here and there, like, dude, I'm glad that she's focusing on herself.
Yeah, and she came back and medaled, right? I mean, what a redemption story,
Yeah, absolutely. So she doesn't need to prove to herself to anybody. She's already done it. I want her to go home and just be herself and let her do whatever she wants to do, man. Big shout out to Simone Biles.
Well, I'll echo that, because I think that it's a really good statement. We have talked about her a couple, weeks ago, when all that came up on the show, and we're all in solidarity with that thought process. But I think she made the right call, because it's a team thing, and if she thinks somebody else can execute a better number, they ended up getting silver. Maybe it wasn't gold, but like they ended up medaling, where if she screws it up, she could get hurt. We could not medal. I mean, there's a whole host of things that could go wrong, and it's not worth it, right? So it's for me, she made the right call, and I think it's important to shed light on mental health. And so it's interesting. I think it's interesting debate where people are like, is she a hero for it, right? I think that's a different conversation. I don't know if she's a hero for it, but I don't think. But I don't think that. But I think she did the right thing, right? So I think that I think both can be true. But it's interesting nonetheless, and I'm proud of her. And I've worked for a school where kids have learning issues, ADD, these kinds of things, and medication is important. I was on ADD medication for a huge percentage of my life. I could not have functioned without it. I definitely wouldn't have tried to jump off of something when I'm not paying attention. You know what I mean? Like, so there's just no way that's Absolutely. Even like remotely possible. So I know I'm not an Olympian, but I can at least speak to the ADD side of it. If she was supposed to be on medication, they don't allow for that medication. There is time for that to leave your system. It could throw you off totally. And it's not worth the risk to her body, and to all that. So I appreciate what you're saying on that. I'll let Davy go next. Davy, what are some of the things that stood out to you in this Olympics?
How about the swimming this year? I mean, just some amazing performances. How about that women's relay with Australia and China? They're all going neck and neck. It was just an unbelievable race. U.S. didn't win that, but it was an incredible race. You gave them another 10 meters, they would have won. They were coming. They really were. It was incredible. And, anything involving Katie Ledecky is always going to be a big watch. And Ledecky, yes, she had a huge upset by Ariane Titmus in the 200 free. And then again in the 4. But then the first ever 1,500 meters on the women's side, which, by the way, way the hell overdue. I can't believe they went that long without doing a 1,500 on the women's side. That's just ridiculous. But they did the first one. She crushed it. I mean, that was incredible just to see that. This is, I think, either her second or third Olympics already for Katie Ledecky. She's accomplished so much already, and it's incredible. So that was great. The 8, same thing. She just destroyed that. But on the men's side, those distance events were crazy. Bobby Fink comes back in the final length of the pool 2 times, in the 8 and the 1500. Just an insane comeback for him. And then, what else can you say about Caleb Dressel in the shorter distances? His first gold Olympics his first gold medal of the Olympics, and then he was just balling. Like, I don't mean balling like basketball. I mean, he was crying like crazy. He could barely talk, and you could feel for him there. It was just an incredible moment. So yeah,
and then he won 4 more, right? So then
yes, in relays and in individual events too. Yeah, it was just an incredible run for him. I was very hopeful too, because he was just crushing it in college level too as well. So I knew I had a good feeling about Caleb, and so props to him.
We joke on the show because it's about a DMV podcast, right? So Maryland really represents in swimming in a way that like no other state does, which is so weird. Like I don't know why our state is known for like crab cakes and swimming, but we do. We breed gold medalists. So it's some of the best of all time.
And it started with Michael Phelps. You also had oh gosh, I forgot her first name already, but Ms. Schmidt, who of course.
Well, but also Katie, and then I think Katie had somebody else who went to the same school as her that got, I think, bronze in the backstroke, right? I'm trying to remember her name as well. So like, shout out to just the future of swimming. So there's so many events. It's hard for me to remember all the names, but but it was really cool in swimming, and it was fun to see. I'll go to Tim next. Tim, is there any sport that you saw that or cared about?
Yeah, the 2 that I paid a lot of attention to, I didn't really expect to, but I just liked it. What was the baseball and the women's soccer? Baseball was special because the U.S. had a great run to the gold medal game, but lost. But you had to root for Japan. They've never won gold. They love baseball as a nation. They were at home and they played their A team. They had Tanaka and all the stars from Japanese baseball, a few guys from MLB in the past, and they were able to win at home in a great 2-0 game. I missed that because it was at like 6 a.m, but I did watch the semis, and the U.S. beat South Korea pretty handily. So it was great for the U.S. to get a medal. They kind of struggle in the Olympics in baseball, which is surprising. But they don't have their best players. It's a lot of AAA guys and washed up former MLB players. So that was really cool. And if you're gonna lose to one team,
that was the last one, right? Isn't baseball going?
Yeah, it's out. Yeah, it's maybe not forever, but it's out next time. So Japan kind of had to win it, and they went all out. So good for them. And then women's soccer, I love because mainly compared to men's soccer, the Olympics kind of sucks. They don't play any of their top players because FIFA wants the World Cup to be the supreme tournament. So it's a lot of young guys and a few veterans. But the women's Olympic event in soccer, it's all the stars. It was basically the same team, mostly that won the World Cup a little while ago. And Team USA lost. They did get the bronze, which was great. And that game was exciting, 4-3. But even the final, I watched the end, and it was really close. Canada won against Sweden, the only 2 teams that beat the U.S. Great game, but I'm kind of sick of soccer tournaments ending in penalty kicks. I really want that to end. In general, I want golden goal again, but good tournament. And it's sad that Team USA's women are kind of going to break up the gang. It's going to be a lot of new players next time. So this is sort of the end. They were really devastated to lose that semifinal, but at least they got a medal, and it was a good tournament. And I think they'll still be good next time, just different faces.
Yeah. Arun, what were some of the things that you checked out?
Thanks to DVR, I checked out a lot of this Olympics. Otherwise, because of the timing, it would have been all off. The caught the 100-meter men stood out where Italy won. Marcel Jacobs, actually born in the U.S., but grew up in Italy. So that was pretty interesting. And also the 4x100 where the U.S. didn't even qualify. Carl Lewis kind of bashed the U.S. team for not even making it to the final heat. So I guess Simone Biles did better than them because she got a bronze medal too in an individual event. So it was pretty cool for Italy to win that race. And they're being called the four Ferraris, and Great Britain was second, and Canada was third. And I don't think anybody had those top three going into the Olympics. And it was just pretty crazy week. There was somebody from Canada who won in track cycling, and she only started biking 4 years ago. She was on the soccer team. Somebody from India won the javelin. It's a 23-year-old. He won gold. San Marino, really small country, they have 2 gold medals, and their population is only 32,000, I believe, or something really small. So it's been a crazy Olympics. And at least while France didn't win gold in basketball, they did win gold in both handball events. And they also got gold in men's volleyball over the ROC. So at least they have that to cheer about. And overall, it's just a very fun Olympics. The U.S. men's closed it out with the 4x400, winning the gold. So that was good that they actually won 1 gold medal, despite a very disappointing 4x100 relay. The women's team, they had a really good 4x400 or 4x100 race and they finished with silver and gold in those respective events. So overall, very jam-packed Olympics. The timing is probably not going to get people to watch them. The crowd noise not being there has also made it a little bit depressing. But hopefully things will get back more to normal in 2024 when they kick off in Paris.
Maybe I'll ask one more point, or maybe 2 more points, because I do want to give a shout out to the Philippines for getting their first ever gold medal. I mean, that was an incredible moment. Hopefully no one brought that up already, but Hidlin Diaz with the weightlifting win, that was awesome. It's always cool to see that, like, history being made, no matter what the country is. And in the 100 meters on the women's side, the 100-meter dash, a sweep by Jamaica. I mean, just continuing the legacy of Jamaica's success in track and field. You know, Thompson Hara with the win and an Olympic record. And Fraser Price, you know, she's been around quite a while, and to medal in that event is still amazing because she's been around a long time. And Jackson with the bronze. So it's just an incredible moment for Jamaica, too.
I agree. We're having a lively Twitch chat in here. I really appreciate everyone for stopping by. That Eat Flat Guy and Carly and so many other great guests joining us. Swimmy and so many have been in chat. I see Davey, you're in chat too. But it's we're talking about gymnastics and how Carly actually likes gymnastics. So I think that's really cool. I'm curious if she ever did it herself or what her favorite events were. And if anybody else in chat wants to say what their favorite event in the Olympics were, they can chime in as well, and we'll get them on air. But I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Even my dad stopped by earlier,
Wow.
and so that was kind of cool to see him in chat. He's usually watching on Facebook Live, so it rarely comes over to the Twitch side. So I appreciate him for doing that. Carlos says beam is her least favorite. It's so scary. Falling was painful. Love bars and floor. Probably bars was my favorite for her when she used to do gymnastics. So that's a fun little fact that I did not know about Carly Sings. So so that's very cool. All right, I'll let each one of you guys give one final thought on the Olympics as we go around the table, and then I will let you guys have one final takeaway and a send off. We'll start off with you, Jesse. Any final thoughts on the Olympics?
We're number one.
Nice. I like it.
Hey, that's it, man. But yeah, thank you for having me, man. Make sure you go, hit me up on Twitch. I interview mostly music singers, but I'm gonna get Robbie on there, and we're gonna do my first full-on sports stream. So that will be awesome because I haven't got to do it, and I love sports, all football, baseball, basketball. I can talk about it all to no end. You know what I mean? My wife hates it, so it's cool to talk to. It's cool to talk to somebody else about it.
My wife also hates it, which is why this is my outlet, right? So I get to talk to all you guys about it. So
absolutely.
But anyway,
you guys come check me out. Check me a follow, and that we can see what next time we do it. I think we're doing ours in 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll get that going. But yeah, I interview a lot of cool, amazing music streamers. Maybe I can get Carly Sings on there at some point. She's pretty awesome.
I'll be Carly's booking agent, right? So we'll see if Carly will do it.
Hey, there we go. Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah, but yeah, check me out, and then follow me on Instagram. You can see all the interviews I'm gonna do, and then also I always post about like the artists that I work with when they're gonna be out.
Shout out what's your handle on Instagram? Just so.
Oh yeah, it's at jesse.breakpoint.booking. Let me put it in the chat.
Yes. Also,
yeah,
I put the Leon Lounge, twitch.tv/TheLeonLounge.
Leon Lounge.
Yes. Over there on Twitch and over on his page, you can find all of his other links. And so we're brand new Instagram buddies as of today. And definitely check out his Twitch channel. He's a rising star interviewing music people. And I really appreciate you coming on. And we'll definitely do, I do another show. Usually where I interview music streamers about their levels of sports, but it would be fun for us to, chat about your history, on what you do in sports as well. So when I bring that show back, my wife is having a baby. So once we're past that process, then in a couple of months, we'll bring that show, the secondary show, back on the channel. And I'd love to have you on. I'd love to have Ryan, that E Flat Guy, on. I'd love to have Davy on as well, and anybody else who likes to talk about. I'm going to broaden it. Before it was people who had to like about singing and sports, but I'll make it if anybody likes sports or singing and streaming. We'll broaden it a little bit, and we'll definitely get you on. But thank you, Jesse, for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, cool. I just dropped my IG right there, so you guys can check it out.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Jesse.
All right, you guys have a good one.
All right, so Davy, let people know I love your format.
Thank you.
I will give people a quick little update of what Davy does, and then I'll let him take it away from there. But if you like sandwiches and you like interview shows, it's a combination of eating sandwich and doing interviews. So it's a fun thing. He's got lots of different guests. Ryan, that E Flat Guy, was just on his show. He's in chat right now. They did a phenomenal interview. It's I've been listening to it. I think it's my favorite one that you've done so far, Davy. And so I really enjoyed it. Had a great listen. I hope people go back and check out the VOD for that one. I'm going to shout you out in my Twitch chat, but it's Davy's Eating a Sandwich on Twitch. So twitch.tv/Davy's Eating a Sandwich. I'm saying it out loud for the audio listeners of the show and people that are on our Facebook as well. But Davy, give people a little synopsis about what you talk about on your show.
Oh, it's wonderful. First of all, thank you so much for the kind words. And all the credit to Ryan. Ryan was awesome last week. It was a great show. Like, it really was a great show. What do we do on our show? I mean, we just get to know other people on Twitch. That's the general synopsis of what that show is. Now, I do another stream in addition to that each week where I do classic video games. I just tried it once, and then people kind of found it, so I kind of do that too. So I'm actually doing two things. I would probably be considered a variety streamer, but the principal show is an interview show where that's pretty much it. It's just me hanging out with a friend that I know from Twitch, and we get to eat sandwiches. And who doesn't enjoy sandwiches? It's an unbelievable draw. I'm actually blown away by how popular the show already is. I'm like, thank you so much. Thank all of you so much for being a part of it. That's all it is. I'm just trying to chat with people and get into all sorts of topics, and we can talk sports too. Like I love sports, and so
yeah, it's interesting. I unfortunately, just because of a timing thing, don't get to catch them live, but I've enjoyed checking out the VODs, right? I really enjoyed that you had Josh on, somebody who's been on one of my other shows as well. And, he's a great interview. And so, but I'm always bummed because I always want to like respond to what's going on in chat, but it's a VOD, so I can't. And I'm like, things I would have said in that moment. So I really do appreciate your community and how a lot of the communities from the different streamers that you're interviewing travel over and they give it a different flavor every week. And so if people are interested in cool interviews, it kind of reminds me of like Hot Ones in the sense that I think eating a sandwich can like opens people up a little bit and like it makes them a little bit more vulnerable. And you also have candy that you showcase at times.
Oh yeah. And I'll give you a bonus one right now if you want.
Nice.
I have some extra Reese's. Would you like a Reese's?
Nice. Yes, I would. They're my favorite candies.
There you go.
So yeah, and he does a great starting five segment where he introduces chat,
so
which I
much
think is
fun.
one of my favorite segments. So anyway,
Oh, thank you.
everyone check out Davy's Eating a Sandwich and over on Twitch, and Davy and I'll join him on his show, and I'll have him on my other show as well sometime in the near future. But Davey,
I will you as well, Robbie. We got to get you on the sandwich show.
Yes, for sure. I will definitely join you in the next couple of weeks on the Sandwich Show. But Davey, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Robbie. Appreciate the invite.
Yes, of course. All right, Tim, I'm going to let you go next. Tim, I know that you're away this week, but I'll let you give you any of your final thoughts before I let you go. Or how are the Ravens doing with the offseason? I didn't even mention that.
They look good. They had a big signing, Justin Houston. I'm not happy that Lamar Jackson didn't get the vaccine and got COVID again. And today he said he's still not sure. So I won't get into that, but they look pretty good in training camp. I guess I'll give a quick shout out to the Wizards. Dinwiddie had a press conference today, I believe, to introduce him as the new Wizards starting point guard. And he said he's not going to be John Wall or Gilbert Arenas or Russ Westbrook, which is definitely true. He has some big shoes to fill, but I'm excited for him to team up with Beal. I think that was a really good signing. And so hopefully the new look Wizards will be good next year. But just final thought on the Olympics. I know a lot of people hated on this Olympics and it wasn't the best, but I'm glad it happened. Everything in between the opening ceremony and closing ceremony was great. Those weren't the best, but it really does bring the world together. I'm happy that it happened. It's a good kind of summer entertainment thing.
Real quickly, though, I do wonder if they should have delayed it. I get it for revenue purposes, but I think it's crazy that NBC basically dictated that these athletes had to play in this extreme heat because they were like, we want our ratings. And they were like, well, it's really hot. And they were like, we don't care. And then, Japan gets the blame because, it's hot. But, it's not their fault. But...
Yeah, the Japanese government, I guess they could have stopped it if they want, and they deserve a little bit of criticism. But I don't know if it was a huge COVID super spreading event. I guess that's jury's still out. But yeah, it's the TV, it's the NBC deal. It's the people that signed the contracts. They made this happen at this time, whether or not the Japanese citizens wanted it. So I don't know. I guess because they run the TV shows, no one's allowed to criticize them. But
yeah,
it's not like you said. They're the ones that dictate everything.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Tim, I appreciate you for joining us the
thanks,
whole
guys.
season. We went NBA and then we rolled it into Olympics. And so I could give you probably a couple weeks off, at least until some basketball or some big news happens. But you're always welcome on the show, as you know. And I'll see you Sunday.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Sounds good.
Bye.
All right. Arun, you are the last of the round table and the longest running member of the round table. You've been on our team since season 1. Arun, any you actually have RG3 news?
Yeah,
real one, not make up, try to fit it in. The longest running segment on this show for people who don't know on Twitch is Arun tries to find RG3 news every single week for years now. And this week there actually was real news. So Arun, let us know what's breaking RG3 news.
Yeah, RG3 is going to be a college football analyst, and for now, he's stepping away from the NFL, but he does have an opt-out clause for his job if he gets an NFL job. And I'm going to say, why not RG3? If you get a job, you should hold on to both jobs and be a college football analyst, and you can be a backup in the NFL. So RG3 earning those paychecks.
Nice. All right, Arun, any final thoughts on either the Olympics or anything else before we let you go?
Just on the Wizards, Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim mentioned, but the signing bonus if he wins the title is a whole $1. So I'll give him $2.
I thought that was a typo. That's the real thing. It's $1.
Yeah.
Why? Why is that even a thing?
I think they were just I think they're just trolling everyone, and I don't know. He does get a bigger playoff bonus if he makes it to the second round. He gets.
He gets a bigger bonus to get to the second round than winning the finals, Carol. I don't know if you saw this, but I was like, why? Don't you want to incentivize getting to the finals? I mean, I guess it's not de-incentivizing. You get a whole buck, you can maybe get a soda for it, but like, I don't know. It just seemed kind of.
I don't. Spencer Dinwiddie, he put a lot of his money into Bitcoin, so I think he's going to be doing just fine, even without the Wizards' money.
That's true. All right, Arun. Well, thank you for all the latest breaking news. We'll definitely talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. Take it easy, Arun.
All right. Big show. It was fun, Carol, breaking it down, bringing in those Twitch guys, and we had our biggest audience on Twitch that we've had in a while. Tons of comments, tons of people tuning in. I know you don't have the chat screen open, but just lots of great conversations happening over there with lots of friends. So I really appreciate everyone for tuning in over there, and it's really cool to see our Twitch stream blow up a little bit. You know, I know that when we started, it wasn't as popular, and so I appreciate people joining from no matter what platform they're on, right? Whether they're on Facebook or Twitter or Twitch or whatever, YouTube, we're on them all. So, but Carol, any final thoughts before I raid and we head on and we call it a podcast 236?
Nothing much. Just if Ken is still DC's People Champion still on your feed, I was watching the end of Monday Night Raw, and Randy Orton had just beat AJ Styles, and the guy Riddle had came out and helped them. He embraced them because they're trying to be tag team. He wants them to be tag team partners, and Randy Orton RKO'd them after he helped them distract the big guy and win the match. So, yeah, I was watching some wrestling. You know, I've been peeping out of WWE lately. You know, Ken always has a great coverage on No Spots podcast, so make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out the website, sportsothp.com, for all the latest content, the podcast partners, the apparel line. You can hit me up for the Sports OTHP apparel partner by Eric Kusa. Um, just be on the lookout for so much more stuff we got in the works. I'm working on some things to, try to get some more time to devote back to the show to get those great interviews and footage and videos that I normally do. Just haven't had the time to do it. But yeah, we got some things in the works. Football season's right around the corner. I'm reaching out to a couple of venues to see about a pre-game show like we used to do down in Martinis. So be on the lookout for that. If you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, come holler at me down in Waldorf Honda, 2450 Crane Highway. I was off today and off tomorrow, but I'll be back in there Wednesday. So don't hesitate to hit me up if you're looking to get that deal done. I'm going to end the show, as always, on my end with some independent music videos. I'm throwing my little bro, I ain't talked to him in a while, but I'm play his reaction band, throw some Renegade up there. And, we got to throw my girl in there from New Zealand, TJ May Crow. She got a new record, new track she just dropped. I'm going to get that on the show soon. So just be on the lookout. Make sure you check out At The Bar Radio every Sunday night starting around 6 o'clock. Talking politics, sports, current events, entertainment news, and of course, independent music. And DC Sports are the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. Appreciate y'all checking out episode 236, and we see y'all next week.